All right, guys. So part two on this cooler bypass mod on the 6L80s and 6L90s. And you might be like, but why? Right? So that spring goes in first, like I explained, and the fluid comes out from the transmission through this line, and it goes to the radiator uh, through this line. Now, if this valve is shut closed like this, it's not going to allow fluid to pass through this side of the circuit and then come out of that hole, right? So sometimes you get a lot of metal, and I got a couple of images. If I don't forget, I'll show you the images of the metal. Uh, and the metal gets this thing stuck, and it doesn't protrude once it heats up. So you have this spring against it, and it's keeping the valve shut like that inside of here, right? So when that happens, you have no cooler flow, and it's going in through here, coming through the this device right here, and then going back into the transmission. And what happens? It overheats. But then you might say, okay, well, and one of you guys made a comment, and uh, that for a non-existent problem, well, I mean, he corrected himself afterwards. I was reading the comments, and well, let me show you what happens when this thing gets shut like this, and it doesn't open like that. Once it opens like that, then fluid comes in through here, goes in through that restricted hole. Like, just look at how restricted that is, and then passes in through here, comes out through here to cool your transmission down. So what happens if that gets stuck? Well, let me show you just the first one. As a matter of fact, let's go to the other bench. So I have one here. I'm working on another one here and another one here. Yeah, that's how much of these transmissions we do. Yeah, you see, that's the bushings for the stator, and I just put this new bearing on this drum right here. And so this is one Tecum. As you can see right here, this Tecum has the little filters. They're melted. If I flip it over, this was replaced because of that. So one of these is a little bit melted. You see this speed sensor is bulging out. This one right here, it's blistered. So this is no good. So this was replaced because it got hot. But hold that thought. I have another one. All right. This is what happens. Melted. You can see it melted. I'm surprised that this truck did not catch on fire. Look at that filter. Look at how it is. Just look at that. Look at this. The plastic, it's all blistered up. Now, this particular one, it was on 2500, and it was no crank, no start. And he had a transmission range sensor code. Well, the range sensor was gone. It was melted. Here's the wires right here. This is what was left over of the range sensor. Here's the speed sensors. I mean, if you think that that's not a problem, I mean, just look at this thing. The speed sensors on this thing, we just turn it over. That thing's just melted on there. Just look at this. So this is part two on that, and I think I'm going to name it Cooler Bypass, but why? Well, this is why. This is why we want to do that. Now you can use my method, and I was trying to post a link in the comment section, of the one I have in Spanish. You might just want to go there and just ignore the language and just watch it. The way that when I started doing this a few years ago, when I first started seeing the cooler bypass device there, or valve, or whatever you want to call that thing, or the thermostatic valve, I thought to myself how to bypass that thing. and I have it in Spanish. In the Spanish channel, it's called Transmisión Automática. You want to go there, and it's there. Uh, I used to enlarge the hole in the bottom. Let me just show you back in here. I used to enlarge the hole in the bottom, and I used to put a cup plug in there. The cup plug that is for the 4L60Es that come in the overhaul kit. I used to buy them by the 20s or 30s in a bag, from my part supplier. Plug that down there, and then stake the sides of it so that the cup plug won't move. Take the bottom O-ring off and take the spring off so you can have full flow. So once you do that, it's full flow. But sometimes you do so many transmissions at once, like you see here. That's a four-wheel drive. That's a two-wheel drive. No, that's a four-wheel drive as well. I got two four-wheel drives here, and you do so many that, I mean, it's just easier, and it's the same thing. I mean, it's less. Even if I put the TCC isolator from the 4L60s in here, and this flip upside down, or you can actually put it like this and make it hold. But I just like to do it upside down because it centers itself down there like that, and then just put your TCC isolator spring, take that spring off, and that O-ring off, and you have a full flow. But the way I used to do it before, and one of you guys mentioned that you guys are threading, threading that in there and putting a threaded plug, and you also take that inner spring off and that O-ring off, and you have full flow. And the less restriction that you have is the best that you're going to have. And I mean, what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish is that uh, when we do that mod, it's like this thing doesn't exist anymore. It's bolted on there because it needs it. I mean, you can see how it bolts up to the transmission, and this one right here, it bolts up to the cooler lines. And then you have the other one that has the cooler lines with the clips and the O-rings, just like the 4L60. Uh, I mean, there's two different types of these cooler bypass devices right here, or the thermostatic valve, or whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing on the 8L90s. It's exactly the same, and you want to do the same. The 8L90s have a problem with the fluid. They try to redesign the fluid, and I just believe that the fluid gets deteriorated because it's just overheating. I mean, that's what I think is going on with the 8L90s, and they shudder. The torque converter comes on in second gear on the 8L90s, actually in first gear. So once it shifts into second, uh, it disengages like 50% for second to come on, and then it goes like that through all the gears, all 8 gears, and it shutters through all 8 gears. I mean, it's just very, very annoying. And I think that the problem is just the fluid just gets deteriorated. I don't think it's the problem with the fluid itself, but anyways, but why? But why? Why do you do that? Look at that. Speed sensor. Nice and toasty speed sensor. All right.